I didn't think it was presidential. Someone should step up to something like this. The optics are very important, and you really can't say you're going to wipe out an entire civilization.
A lot of this is propaganda. A lot of this are things that we've seen before. The U.S. was already in a hole, and this makes it infinitely worse.
Don't always believe what he says.
When he's threatening genocide?
I think he's threatening genocide. I think he's threatening to remove the Iranian regime.
What I hear on the panel, there's a lot of people being triggered by Trump. And I think that's what happens when someone with a backbone comes in and says, no, you know what? We're going to stand up to evil.
Here we are on the precipice of a nuclear holocaust because this baboon is in office and he's like, oh, Bibi, how can I make you happy? Can you please give me more money? Am I going to be a hero, Bibi?
You know something? You're all taking the bait.
Damn.
The US president had two enormous success stories to celebrate and give thanks for this weekend, besides Easter itself. First, there was Artemis 2, a US-led mission to send human beings further from the Earth than any living being has.
You know, it's crazy. Shout out to my man Noah Joyner in the chat, because I know me and you were talking about that. And like I said, it's impressive, and I guess we'll get to see the other side of the moon. It's just that I'm upset that we're not going to land on the moon again. We give these flat earthers something else to point at. See, but you didn't land on the moon. You just rode by it. Those could be artificial pictures. AI. In a time of AI, too, they decide to do this type of mission. I'm like, bro, if I was NASA, or if I was in the boardroom at NASA, I'd have been like, look, bro, we got to land on the moon. Like, but it's too expensive. I don't care. We got to land on the moon. The flat earthers are not having it with us. We got to put our ass on the moon and prove these guys wrong forever.
Ever traveled. It's a precursor to returning to the moon and even reaching Mars. By any measure, it's a breathtaking triumph and a tribute to American ingenuity. Second, the daring and audacious mission to save a stricken U.S. Air Force colonel who was forced to eject from his fighter jet in central Iran. More than 150 aircraft spent 50 hours in a race against Iranian forces deep inside enemy territory. The U.S. military is probably the only military that could have pulled that off, and make no mistake, it was humiliating for Tehran. Instead, most of the world's attention and energy, however, has been absorbed by Donald Trump's expletive-laden Easter morning statement and the carnage it foreshadowed. And as I'll come to shortly, today he's gone even further and made things even worse. In just 48 words on Easter morning, the president managed to threaten Iran with war crimes while sounding, frankly, utterly unhinged, contradicting his own strategic aims and offending both Christians and Muslims.
Who do you think you are? You're tweeting out the F word on Easter morning? You'll be lit.
Yeah, Tucker basically had it with his ass. Even Tucker was like, you know what? I always knew there was something funny about you when you didn't put your hand on that Bible the second time you got elected. I knew it. You put a hand on the Bible the first time, but you didn't do it the second time. And now I think you look sus. I mean, shout out to Tucker Carlson, because that's pretty much how he was coming at Trump.
Living in hell. Just watch.
It's like, man, it's like he really pissed Tucker off when he pretty much just disrespect Christians by writing this out on Easter of all days, of all holy days. Like, come on, bro.
Praise be to Allah. So yeah, obviously you're mocking the religion of Iran. Okay. If you seek a religious war, that's a good idea. But by the way, no decent person mocks other people's religions.
The president doubled down yesterday, reiterating that if no deal is reached with Iran by tonight, there will be an all-out assault on civilian infrastructure in which, quote, very little is off limits. Well, some of this was delivered while standing alongside the Easter Bunny, but this is no joke. This morning, Trump issued a post which does nothing less than threaten the Iranian people with genocide. A whole civilization will die tonight, he said, never to be brought back.
And shout out to my man Noah Joyner. He says, yeah, I don't understand why we are not landing on the moon with equipment to work on building a space aircraft that flies like a fighter craft. Honestly, like I said, we're honestly behind, but I got my own little conspiracy theory on that. I think that we're low-key siphoning money away from the people, trillions of dollars. This is where all this money is going from the Pentagon. We're low-key funding some like futuristic civilization that has all this technology that we don't have access to. Only they can have access to it. But yeah. And you know what's funny? I actually got that theory from this what was it? She was like a finance lady that used to work in the Bush administration. Pretty crazy theory. Well, she tracked the money. She tracked the trillions of dollars, and she pretty much found out where it was going, and then she couldn't really like give a name on it, but she's like, you know what? I'm guessing this is the fun, like, secret technology. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I can see that.
I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. Those words should be chilling to not only the Iranian people, but to everybody. US presidents don't threaten genocide because the US is not capable of genocide. At least that's the world we all grew up in. If you break with that principle, you break it with it any moral authority the US has, and the world becomes a very different place. I understand the argument that Trump is unique in politics, and that many in his core base enjoy the fact that he says and does what he feels like. But war isn't about appealing to a base. It's about building consensus for the most expensive and deadly gamble any leader can make, especially as the US now prepares to escalate hostilities to a level which will shock the world. Not so very long ago, we documented with precision the incoherent ramblings of President Biden. And not long before that, there were enormous scandals about the dignity of the office because President Obama saluted with a latte, wore a tan suit, and used a selfie stick. Are people now just being intellectually inconsistent or downright dishonest? Or has America's sense of right and wrong really changed so much in such a short space of time?
No, you know what's so crazy? I said the same thing though in my head. I'm like, bro, let Obama or Biden be doing this, and every person in MAGA will be calling this a war crime. But because Trump is doing it, all of a sudden these guys are just blind. Oh, they don't see it now. Oh, they don't see it, bro. They're now over here, bro. Let Obama or Biden been doing this, and everybody be seeing this clearly. They wouldn't be buying this dumbass bullshit of, oh, well, if just one soldier walks across that bridge, it's a target now. It's like, no, they wouldn't be buying that. They wouldn't be hearing that if it was Obama or Biden. But for some reason, they're buying the BS.
If the next wave of US attacks is anything like the president is warning, we'll soon have a definitive answer. Well, to debate all this, the host of System Update, Glenn Greenwald, the former US Deputy National Security Advisor, KT McFarland, the founder and CEO of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and the former US Air Force combat pilot, Ryan Bodenheimer, known to many as Max Afterburner. Well, welcome to all of you. Well, let me start with you, Glenn Greenwald. I've got to say, there's this whole thing about, you shouldn't take everything Trump says literally, shouldn't take it overly seriously. But what else are we supposed to do when the president of the United States literally posts a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again? I don't want that to happen, but it probably will, about Iran and the 90 million people that live there. What else are we supposed to do with that but take it seriously and literally?
If you don't take that extremely seriously and literally, then you're acting with unbelievable recklessness. And this is not the first statement that Trump has made that has suggested this. He was talking to reporters over the weekend and essentially saying that there'd be nothing off the table in terms of what he would do to Iran, what he would destroy. We're talking about civilizational annihilation. That's not my interpretation. That's literally what Trump himself said. And even if it turns out that doesn't happen, he finds a way to get out of it this time. He postpones the deadline again. The fact that we have an American president in the middle of a war threatening to annihilate permanently a thousands-year-old civilization.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I'm still having trouble bringing it up on YouTube for some reason, bro. I don't know, bro. Not even Rumble is letting me go live on YouTube. At this point, I'm contacting support, and they're telling me there's nothing wrong. And I'm just like, bro, all the streaming services are saying I can't connect to this. So, like, what's going on? But, I mean, we'll see.
Over a country that did not attack the United States, has never attacked the American homeland, has not tried, is one of the most disturbing and morally reprehensible things I've ever heard an American president say. And the last point I'll just make is that, we're so inured as Americans, and even in Great Britain and parts of Europe, to war, where we fight wars so often, so frequently. It's kind of like a natural state of affairs that, which country are we going to go to war with? There's a reason we say war is a last resort. It's not like a cliche. It's supposed to be the high moral mandate. And it's because things like this can spiral out of control very quickly in ways that people didn't predict and didn't plan. It does things to human beings, war does, that make them act in all sorts of extraordinarily destructive ways. And we are at a moment of grave danger simply by the fact that Trump issued this threat, let alone whether he follows through.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Rob O'Neill has also joined us, former US Navy SEAL, of course, who killed Osama bin Laden. For some reason, your name didn't appear earlier, Rob, but probably because we elevated you to a VIP level of panel member, given your service to your country. So my apologies. Let me go to you, Rob, because both you and Ryan obviously have served in combat. In fact, only last night I was watching a riveting Netflix documentary about the raid to kill Osama bin Laden. And of course, you were the man who finally pulled the trigger that killed him. So you are the best person imaginable to ask about several things that have happened in the last few days. Let's start with a big positive, which was the incredible rescue mission to get this colonel who had obviously crash landed, and then there was a hunt to get him. The more detail I read about this, Rob, the more incredible it becomes. What did you make of this operation?
Yeah, this was a rescue of a downed aviator and or air crew like we've never seen before. Just the amount of assets that we had. What was unique about this, though, is we're able to see exactly where they are pretty much all the time. There's other air assets, other intelligence assets in the air watching. When they're hit and they eject, obviously it must have been at high altitude. I don't know the exact details of the elevation, but they separated by a couple miles. And at that point, everything stops and we need to find them. So they ended up going in with the Tier 1 unit with SEAL Team 6, and they flew in some C-130s with a lot of people. The guerrilla package is what it is. And that, I mean, they can do pretty much stuff. They're at a forward operating base that they made there on an airfield. There's other stuff they could be doing there, too, because it was a few days on the ground. I'm not sure what it was, but I know with that many people, that many assets, you know, they're in there. The pilot did a great job with the encryption and the survival radio that he did have, because it's sending encryption stuff. I don't want to get too much into it. He evaded a lot of counterintelligence with the 3-letter agencies in there, and then the pilot get into a spot not moving. When people are in a major stress like that, distressed as well, they have a tendency to run away from things. It's best to find high ground and let the good guys come to you, which he did. Good on him, because he's hurt, he's wounded, he's bleeding, making it to the high ground and then not falling for any of the tricks. Hats off to everybody. So much going on, a lot more than the time we have today. But for the men and women involved with all of this, seeing what will, I know I've seen it firsthand, the assets that we will use to get a single American back says a lot about our country. It also delivers a message that when we want to go anywhere in the world, the United States can do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought that was an astonishing rescue mission. I read the full New York Times account of it, and honestly, it was breathtaking. And I give great credit to Donald Trump for sending in literally the whole kitchen sink to rescue this guy, and they got him out with no loss of life on the American side. Incredible. Yep. But it begs the question.
And I'm gonna be honest, I'm happy with it too. The problem is that we were bragging about air superiority that we apparently don't have all the way through, but we're over here supposed to believe that we just have it. And when this ship gets brought, not ship, but when the aircraft gets brought down, I mean, look, we're caught up in the hoorah of the mission, success, but we're forgetting the whole whoa. Like, our ship was, or not our ship, but our aircraft wasn't even supposed to be shot down in the first place. We're supposed to have air superiority. Well, you know, as Trump said, they got lucky. So, I mean, hopefully they don't get lucky again, because they got lucky with like 3 other aircrafts.
Rob, and I'd be very interested in what you feel about this.
2 others.
Trump could have taken a victory lap over that, and everyone would have applauded. You know, Trump could take a victory lap over Artemis, and everyone can applaud this astounding achievement we're watching of human beings going further than they've ever gone before in space. These are 2 great American achievements in the last few days. But what most of the world is talking about are 2 posts on social media by Donald Trump. You know, one in which he says, "Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah." And the other one, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want it to happen, but it probably will." And, you know, I've known Donald Trump 20 years. He's always shot from his mouth. He's always shot from the hip. He says, you know, he's a trash-talking New York real estate guy. Okay, but now he's the leader of the free world. He's the president of the United States. He's the commander-in-chief of the American military. Would you have felt comfortable if you were still serving with the commander-in-chief posting like that?
I have to be honest, Piers. I went to Truth Social to see if they were actually posted. I didn't think it was presidential, and I know that it's very difficult to be around President Trump and tell him something you disagree with. You know, I know the man. I've had dinner at the White House with him. But someone should step up to something like this. The optics are very important, and you really can't say you're going to wipe out an entire civilization. You're already teetering on what rules the Geneva Convention has, and you start talking about if you're hitting a vital infrastructure for civilian survival, that's against the Geneva Convention. You can't do it. Now, if it's dual purpose, which a lot of these people do, That's for a lot of the higher ups to decide. But I don't think it's proper to get on social media and say you're going to wipe out an entire civilization like that. It's one of the, look. He's angry. He's mad at NATO. He's mad at our so-called allies for not helping, and he's yelling at his phone. You need to take a deep breath and realize you're the commander in chief of the military. You're the leader of the free world, the most powerful man in the free world. There's something just shouldn't be said, even if you want to. For me, it's one of those things. And trust me, as someone on social media who, the next day wakes up and says, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, there is a time to type something up or even handwrite a letter, put it in a drawer and forget about it. If it doesn't bother you in 24 hours, it shouldn't be put out to the world. I think as the top boss in the military, inappropriate.
Yeah, I completely agree. Stay with me, panel. We'll come to the other members for their response to this in a second. Just joining me now briefly is Ro Khanna, Democratic congressman in California.
Oh, man, he's been calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump for since he made that statement. Well, long before he made the statement. But he's really been doubling down on it to really make sure that people understand that, hold on, we might need to, get this man up out of here through the 25th Amendment. Let's see if you know what? Most likely it's not going to happen. But trust me, after that tweet, I can see why the Dems are pushing for it.
Ro Khanna, welcome back to Uncensored. To even hear, Rob O'Neill, a highly decorated U.S. Navy SEAL, obviously the man who killed Osama bin Laden, even he is very uncomfortable with the language being used here. I think that is a view shared by many in the American military. Why is Donald Trump doing this? Who is he appealing to with this kind of language?
Well, Donald Trump needs to be removed from office, even if this is a threat and he doesn't plan on following through. It shows the utter contempt and inhumanity that Trump views people in Iran or in the Middle East or in the developing world with. It's not the American way of valuing the dignity and life of every individual. He's calling them animals. That's the same thing Gallant said about the Palestinians. He has a fuel blockade on Cuba, starving people there because he doesn't care about their life. And now he's talking about civilization annihilation. I am tired of the Democrats just using procedural language. We need to say this is a moral crime. We need to call for his removal, and we need to stand up for American principles, which is the equality and dignity of every human life. Those are Christian values. They're constitutional values.
Yeah, I'm seeing people who are more expert than me in the legal aspect of some of what he's saying. And they're saying that even signaling an intent to commit what he's suggesting, a whole civilization being killed, in other words, presumably every Iranian, 90 million people, even an American president signaling an intent to do that could be a war crime. It could already breach international law. Is that your understanding?
I do believe that. And this is what, of course, got Netanyahu's government into trouble with the ICJ and the UN. They had all of these ministers making statements of intent of treating people like animals, of starving them. And now you have Donald Trump echoing the same language. Look, Americans view ourselves as deeply good. We want to be a force for good in the world. We're the nation that defeated Nazism.
Let's be real. We don't want to sit there and just start trying to champion war crimes. We don't want to sit there and try to make excuses for war crimes. That's what I was debating Monty on. This man was going like, well, if just a couple military trucks go over there, we could blow up that bridge. I'm like, no, bro, that's not how it works. And then when they want to bring up examples, they want to start talking about, before World War II or during World War II. And I'm like, yeah, bro, that's why we don't do that. Because we signed the Geneva Convention. We understood that what we did was wrong. So sitting there and try to rationalize something that we've already established is wrong is insane and extreme like cope. And this is why I be saying that, yes, this war got some people brainwashed to the point where you guys are willing to condone war crimes. And you're willing to be an idiot like John Bolton going like, well, if just one soldier walks across that bridge or if they have a march across there, we can blow it up. And I'm like, even though it's used by mainly civilians, that may be true. But it just has to have a little bit of military use. I'm like, yeah, that's not how it works. Like, this power plant just needs to have a little bit of military use so we could blow it up, even though it's going to send millions of innocent civilians into the darkness. It just needs to send 10,000 IRGC into the darkness, but we can handle millions of the citizens being in darkness. Yeah, that's a war crime. I don't even get how this is even a debate.
We're the nation that defeated communism. We're the nation that goes in and rescues people when they have enemies attacking them. We're not a nation that is out there to destroy civilizations. It goes against the very essence of America's self-conception as a nation dedicated to equality and liberty and enlightenment and ideals. And Trump is doing something so corrosive to who we are as an American nation. I hope other Republicans will start to call for his removal.
Well, you know, I was telling Rob O'Neill, I watched a documentary about the killing of Osama bin Laden and that incredible raid. You know, Al-Qaeda, his terrorist organization, this is the kind of language they would use about America, right? Death to all Americans, death to America. This is terrorist language. And I'm just astonished that Donald Trump would post this publicly and expect there to be no legal fallout from that whatsoever. I just want to move generally. There's a big split going on the Republican side of this. We're going to come to some clips later in the show from Tucker Carlson railing against Trump here. Marjorie Taylor Greene has attacked him, calling, like you have, the 25th Amendment to be implemented. So we cannot kill an entire civilization. This is evil and madness. One of the biggest cheerleaders for Trump has been Mark Levin, who has also taken time out to call you a Jew-hating, America-hating demagogue, and says the media continuing to give you airtime as if you're some kind of legitimate politician is outrageous. I'm very happy to give you airtime. What is your response to Mark Levin?
Well, I had to Google who he was. I didn't know who he was. And then I looked up. I guess he's a blast from the past, someone who was cheerleading us into the Iraq War and this militarism. But he doesn't represent the new generation. And Piers, it's really important, I think, that people who watch your show around the world understand there is a new generation of Americans. We're tired of these wars. We want to build a cohesive multiracial democracy. We want an America where everyone has an economic shot, and we're going to come to power in 26 and 28. So for those who think that Trump is America, they're just wrong. It's a dying gasp at a nostalgia and a past that many of the new generation reject. And Levin represents the worst of that tradition, but he's kind of irrelevant. I mean, I almost shouldn't have responded. I gave him, probably now more people know him than ever knew him before. And I would pay attention to where the future of this country is.
How do you feel about the fact that you and Tucker Carlson are pretty well in total agreement about what is happening with the Republican president?
Well, I appreciate that Tucker has actually been speaking out against the war in Iran. I mean, he, as you know, interviewed Ted Cruz. Cruz didn't know there were 90 million people there. Tucker has said that these wars of choice in the Middle East are making America less safe. They're strengthening China. We should be focused on rebuilding our industry. We should be focused on our people, childcare, healthcare, and that this is not in America's interest.
Now, the funny thing about that interview between Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson, when he asked him that question, it exposed the fact that these neocons want to go to war with countries that they have no understanding about. None whatsoever. Like the fact that you want to go to war with a country you don't even know that there's 93 million people there is crazy. It's like you could probably say, you know, that country is like pretty much like covered by mountains, right? It's going to be hard to put ground troops on. You know that, right? He probably wouldn't even know that. We're dealing with people who want to go to war with a country that they know nothing about. Nor do they care to know. All they know is that we got the best military, so F it. Let's go on in.
But he's gone further, as has Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is not who America is. If you believe in a nation that has been influenced by Christian teaching, how can you be for these kind of posts on Easter Sunday? If you believe in a nation that has been influenced by Locke and Rousseau and Enlightenment ideals, how can you believe that every human life doesn't have dignity? No. Of course, America First means we take care of our own people. It doesn't mean that you don't recognize the life and dignity of every human being. And so what Tucker is speaking about, or Marjorie Taylor Greene is speaking about, are basic understanding of American founding values. And Trump is making a mockery of everything that makes America exceptional. But fortunately, he is a chapter that is going to be soon in the past. I fundamentally believe we're going to become a cohesive multiracial democracy, and this will be seen as something that America overcame.
Congressman Ro Khanna, thank you very much, David, joining me.
Appreciate it.
Well, let's go back to the panel. And before we go to the panel members who haven't spoken yet, I want to play this clip from Tucker Carlson, which has gone viral today.
Who do you think you are? You're tweeting out the F word on Easter morning? No, this is a mockery not just of Islam, it's a mockery of Christianity. To send out a tweet with the F word on Easter morning promising the murder of civilians and then saying praise be to Allah without explaining any of it, you are mocking me and every other Christian because we're Christians. We can't support that. That is evil. That is an intentional desecration of beauty and truth, which is the definition of evil.
Okay, well, let's go to Katie McFarland, former U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor. What do you feel about this? I mean, as an American, do you feel comfortable about the President of the United States posting this kind of rhetoric?
You know something? You're all taking the bait. Donald Trump is in the final hours of a negotiation that could prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Iran having nuclear weapons would be like Adolf Hitler having.
I mean, in a 2-week ceasefire, didn't y'all always like to say they're just 2 weeks away? So, I mean, what happened to all that? Like, y'all the main ones talking about this whole 2 weeks away theory. Now we're getting a 2-week ceasefire. And you're going like, well, do you mean this is pinnacle, God? This is pinnacle to them keeping away from a nuclear weapon. I mean, what you mean? We're giving them a 2-week break to go ahead and get that, well, that bomb that you're oh so scared about. Now, that's not what I'm saying, that Iran's going to go towards that bomb in 2 weeks. I'm just saying, though, if you're over here crying about, oh, Iran having a nuclear capability, but I just don't get the logic here. The same people that says Iran is going to make a bomb in 2 weeks are okay with this 2-week ceasefire. You know what? I'm okay with it, but not for the reasons that they're okay with it. It's just actually funny how that is. But all right, I'll let her finish her point. But it's just kind of funny how she said that.
Trump is in the final hours of a negotiation that could prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Iran having nuclear weapons would be like Adolf Hitler having nuclear weapons in World War II. You bet he's tough. You bet he's not playing by the Marcus of Queensberry's rules. He is in the middle of a negotiation, and he is threatening. He's threatening the IRGC. He's threatening the Iranian regime, or what's left of it,
and the Iranian people.
If you come to me, you make a deal with me, and here's the deal: no nuclear weapons.
But he's not, though, is he? He's not. He's threatening the entire Iranian population. That is what he meant by a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. He's not just threatening the regime or the IRGC. He is being very specific that this will involve the removal of the entire civilization in Iran. That is genocide. That is a war crime.
You know, I guess I would think that what President Trump is doing now, don't always believe what he says, because he says
when he's threatening genocide.
Wow, bro, all right, bro. Is he the fuck around, find out president or not? Is he the promise kept president or not? Because now y'all just saying, well, you know, don't always take what he says as true. Take it with a grain of salt. I mean, bro, is he Mr. FOF or find out? Like, come on now. Like, well, what is it? Like, pick a position, pick a side. Is he Taco Trump or is he fuck around and find out? Which one?
I think he's threatening genocide. I think he's threatening to remove the Iranian regime.
He doesn't say that.
Well, I think that's what he's talking about. He's removing the Iranian regime.
Why doesn't he say that?
If you look at the press conference that he gave yesterday, what did he say? We are now negotiating with new Iranians. We are now negotiating with the new Iranians.
Who he's now threatening to kill, along with every other Iranian tonight at 1 o'clock in the morning, English time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I mean, he couldn't be less ambiguous if he tried. It couldn't be more crystal clear.
I understand you don't like the words, but let me just ask you, in 24 hours...
How could anybody like the words? I mean, all due respect, Katie McFarland, explain to me who would like these words and why you would like them. Do you like them?
This is going to be MAGA probably for the next couple of weeks, trying to make this make sense, or trying to, honestly, so not even trying to make it make sense, but trying to make this right. For some reason, like I said, in MAGA, they're trying to over here and say, oh, war crimes are good now. They're over here trying to say that, well, this 2 weeks, this 2-week ceasefire is a good thing, even though all we've been doing is crying about all Iran needs is 2 weeks to get to a bomb. And I mean, what would be a better opportunity to get to a bomb than in these 2 weeks right here? I'm just saying, I mean, let's stay consistent now. Will y'all, or will y'all just sit there and run to the defense of Trump every chance you get?
Yeah, of course I don't like them. But the point is not whether I like them or not. It's whether the Iranian regime believes them. Do they believe it's a legitimate and credible threat?
They've already come out and said they're not. They're now stopping all negotiation with the Americans over these posts. They want nothing to do with them. They're not negotiating. And in fact, they're coming out now saying, we're more than happy to give our lives for our country and our cause, which of course many people understand that is what the Iranian regime ideology is all about, right? So why would this kind of threat ever work? And also, what happens if we get to 8 p.m. tonight Eastern and Trump doesn't follow through with his threat? Then he's the boy. Then he's the boy that cried wolf. Then he's the emperor with no clothes. So I don't see how this works on any level. Either he commits a genocide and will be damned for eternity and probably start World War III, or he doesn't do it. The Iranians ignore his threats, and Trump is made to look impotent as a leader. How does this work as a victory for him? I don't get it.
I think you've just made your point. That Iran, you've talked about the leadership of Iran. You talked about the murdering they want. How do you feel if Iran has nuclear weapons? You know, there's a cost to doing nothing. There's a cost to
I don't want them to have it, but my understanding of that issue is that we were told last summer, after the 12-day war, that all threat of a nuclear weapon being developed by Iran had been taken out. Now, within 10 months, we're told we now have to threaten World War III to stop them getting a nuclear weapon that we were told only 10 months ago we had stopped them getting. All the enriched uranium is buried deep below the ground. Most military experts I've heard talk about this say there's no way to get it without committing ground troops, which could lead to catastrophic losses on the American side. So again, I ask, how does any of this stop Iran anyway from developing nuclear weapons? If we're not going to get the enriched uranium without blowing up the entire population, explain to me how we stop them developing a nuke.
Well, what you just said is that you're willing to live with a nuclear Iran. I am not willing to live with a nuclear Iran.
I didn't say that.
For the very reason that you've just...
I'm so weak, bro. It's like they don't, bro. They can't even have a real argument. All they have is shaming tactics. When they can't beat your argument, so what are you? Like, do you work for the Iranians? Oh, so I guess you're just gonna cover for Iran now. What? Because you can't beat the argument? Because you can't sit there and explain why this is a good idea or how does this benefit us? Like, it sounds like you want a nuclear Iran. Well, ma'am, I'm gonna be real with you. The first Ayatollah well, not the first, but Khomeini, the guy that we blew up, guess what? He nipped that in the butt for us. So if you were really about making sure Iran didn't have a nuclear weapon, you'd have been for keeping that man alive. But apparently you don't know that. That is insane. I mean, honestly, if you was for them not having a nuclear weapon, you'd have been okay with Obama's deal. But apparently, I mean, you know, I get that, you know, you guys don't like Obama. Like, you have this, I mean, senseless hate for Obama. And I somewhat get it. But let's be real, guys. We got to give people their dues. And like, bro, that JCPOA gave us exactly what we wanted out of Iran. Eyes on their nuclear capabilities.
Well, you said we can't find the enriched uranium. How do you know we can't find the enriched uranium? You know, one of the problems that President Trump saw is that we thought we'd obliterated everything. And what did the Iranians do the very next day? They started rebuilding. I taught nuclear weapons at MIT in the 1980s. What do you need for a nuclear weapon? You need three things. You need highly enriched uranium, which we know they've got. We're not sure where it all is. We don't know if they've already destroyed it all. You need a plan to take that highly enriched uranium and turn it into a bomb. And then you need a missile to deliver that nuclear weapon. What was Iran? So they've got the missiles. We've just seen that they've demonstrated they have the reach to reach Europe from Iran. We know they've got highly enriched uranium, and we're pretty sure they've got the blueprint that's going to pull it all together. So they're close to a nuclear weapon. If the United States waits until after they have a nuclear weapon, can you imagine the blackmail that Iran would do, not just to the region, but to the world?
Okay, let me bring in Cenk Uygur. I mean, Cenk, I was pretty horrified when I saw the post today. I was pretty horrified when I saw the post on Easter Sunday, to be honest with you. I just thought it was so inappropriate. And, you know, I always have an allowance for Trump to do a bit of